Mic check 1 2. How's everybody doing? Bonjour. How's everybody? Hey. All right. So we are here today in beautiful Paris. Thank you guys for coming out. My name is Chris Lyons. I'm one of the general partners and president of Web3 Media at Andreessen Horowitz, and very excited for a conversation with some of the best people around Web3 and NFTs. Maybe just real quick, I'll just allow everybody to just do a quick intro so we can level set the room, and then we're going to get into a great conversation.
Yo, I'm Fanfaron. I'm the founder of 77bit, formerly known as Ragnarok. We're an MMORPG universe, and yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Bryan, Pellegrino, one of three co-founders, CEO of LayerZero.
I'm Harri, also known as Harri. I head up product for Proof, so we're the team behind Moonbirds, Oddities, Proof Collective, Grails, and then a load of podcasts as well.
I'm Luca. I'm the CEO of Pudgy Penguins.
I'm Frank Degods, founder of Degods and Utes.
Let's go. I love it. So we're going to have a conversation today about community. And so if you think about PFP, think about Web3, if you think about just the future and everything, whether it's NFTs, whether it's tokens, like it all boils down to community. And these are some of the best founders and creators in the space that have really kind of tapped a very special niche and within each one of the communities. So, Harri, I'll start with you. Proof is actually known for the community. It's known for building out an amazing ecosystem. How do you guys think about really kind of connecting and creating experiences and really trying to, add value within the community that you guys have built?
Yeah, so thinking specifically about Proof Collective, which was our first community and it's the smallest one, I spent the first 6 months as a holder, not a team member. And when I look back at that time, what made it really special wasn't actually the things that the team were doing, it was the community and the members themselves. I know it sounds a bit cliched, but everyone had such genuine enthusiasm and passion for the space generally, but also for being part of that group. And so as a team, I think for any team, the best thing that you can do, if you want to build a really authentic community and one that's going to last, you have to invest in facilitating actual meaningful connections between people, and also encouraging people to participate, because that's the point at which you go from a group of collectors and a people who have a PFP in common to an actual community.
Absolutely. And just to kind of follow on to that, Luca, I mean, you basically have jump-started Pudgy Penguins to the top of the food chain right now, and you guys have really kind of built an ecosystem, especially in a space where you had to kind of bring it back from the dead, and now it's like one of the most prominent NFT spaces. So one, I'm just curious, what did you see in the Pudgy Penguin community, and then two, how are you thinking about just really trying to create community within that space now?
No, I love that question. I think for us, I was a really early NFT trader and collector, and I felt like Pudgy Penguins had a magic that you just can't replicate. It was something that I felt like very few projects had, and I felt like it just needed the right leadership to kind of take it where it needed to be. I look at community in my position from an interesting lens. I really believe from a founder and a team perspective, we are the muscle behind the hive mind and the brain that is the community. And I think that is the superpower about Web3, and I think a lot of people underestimate that superpower. Is you have a group of 5,000 people with similarly aligned interests through this vehicle that is the NFT. And it's our responsibility as a group to build an amazing brand. And it's my job from a company standpoint to facilitate these ideas and to extrapolate the best information from this group and push the vision forward. And so I look at it from a lens of, hey, let's build this brand and build this company together. Let's have a feedback loop. Let's have a steady stream of communication. And it's my responsibility to go build on that vision. And I think that's probably why we've seen us be so successful over the last couple of months, is because all of these things that we've discussed with the community, we're taking, we're applying, we're growing, and we're building. But it's not my company. It's our company, right? And I think that's the difference. And maybe we'll let Frank touch on that as well, because I know you do the same.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
I love our company.
Bars.
I mean, that's the power
Bars.
of Web3 right there.
Man's dropping bars out here. So I think my line on this is when I first started in NFTs, I used to think community was bullshit, and then I realized it was all bullshit except for community. Because I think that what I always say about NFTs, this might be, maybe oversimplifying it, but I think what it allowed to happen was cool people to justify being able to spend all of their time all day on the internet. And this has unlocked like a lot of really interesting people. And I mean, I even right now in this room, I just know that some dude is like a software developer, or some other guy's, working off a farm. Like the amount of stories that are just the variance of the people that all connect over this shared hobby of collecting cartoon JPEGs is pretty incredible. And I just think like when I think about community, I think it's actually the core of everything, and that means a lot of things. But for me, if you can make a best friend on the internet, like that is utility in a way that will deeply impact your life and the people that you spend time with. And I think that's harder and harder to do, the direction that the internet has been going over the last decade. And so NFTs allow for you to build these small niches and small groups where you can get really close to people. And I think that's just this magical thing that NFTs have enabled. So
Yeah. But just really quick, just to double tap on that, because a lot of the projects, especially in the NFT space, have really kind of led towards Ethereum. However, you built your project on Solana. So what did you see? That was very degen of you to do that at the beginning, and now it's like you're starting to see way more projects starting to kind of go across chain. So why did you even think about building on Solana, and what did you see within that space?
The honest answer was it was so early when we were launching on Solana. So I think me and my friends that started the project, we were like, man, we don't know anybody on Ethereum. We're not connected. It feels like everyone that was minting out was just in the know, plugged in, and so it felt like on Solana it was open, territory and a place where we could, I get closer to the mic. Okay, yeah, it was just felt like we were wide open. Lane. And so I think what we learned on Solana, and I still love the ecosystem to this day, and I think it's going to be a really big deal. It was so degen and so much more about having fun and actually just people being excited and engaged on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And so I think it just taught us a lot about how to build something with a audience of people that will spend $10 on a JPEG, on an NFT, and then expect you to, as if they've spent $1 million on it. And when you build in that environment, you just learn how to deal with a lot of people being mad at you all the time. And I think that's 40% of the skill set required sometimes. I mean, that's space.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're literally building in public. So,
yeah.
It's kind of crazy. But
Solana summary is I love Solana. I think that it's an incredible user experience, and I'm a big fan of the blockchain. I think when we look at Ethereum right now, the lead is just so large, and it's just very obvious that the flagship IPs that are coming out and that have already been established on Ethereum, it's really hard to compete with the new ecosystem, and I think that's why we want to take Degods to ETH. That's what we're doing in March, and then same thing with Utes. I think it's early days on Polygon in the same way it was early on Solana, so let's run that back and be early again. So let's go. That's the honest answer right there. Yeah.
Let's fucking go. Let's go.
Fucking go.
So, well, in addition to community, I think that one of the other benefits is just with NFTs and with Web3 is the art of storytelling. And so, Fanfaron, you guys in 77-bit, you've kind of taken this Marvel-esque approach and, gone into so many different verticals and really have doubled down on the art of storytelling. Maybe it'd be great just to kind of share a little bit more about what you guys are thinking about and how you're building the art of community and storytelling together.
Yeah, sure. So ultimately, the goal for us is to become a powerful universe and a strong brand, kind of like Marvel or Pokemon. And everything doing that story can be told in different medias. And the first media where we're trying to tell our story is the game. So we're developing an MMORPG, an open world, and you give the opportunity for the community to get immersed into your story, into your virtual world, and to connect between each other. They can do a lot of things. They can fight. They can exchange between them. They can upgrade their weapons and do other things that create value for them and create strong bonds socially in between people that have never met each other. That's the power of gaming. And the second aspect where we're trying to build a strong storytelling where we include the community is the manga and anime. We have 5 chapters ready already, written and drawn, and we're trying to integrate community Ronin into the story. So they are able to develop their IP, their characters around the story that we tell them and that we give them. And the third aspect, where you can really create connections and bonds between community, but this time in real life, is with physical experiences. With physical experiences, you immerse them into a story, like what we did at the booth downstairs, and they connect with each other, they talk to each other, but they're also immersed into a parallel universe. And that's powerful.
Yeah. And I love how you double tapped on physical, because I think that as we're building, quote unquote utility and having the online experiences, it's equally as important to also think about how you can actually capture things in real life, and especially for conferences like NFT Paris, where people can actually be in the physical locations and actually experience the online and offline is super important. So yeah, absolutely. Well, Bryan, first of all, your hat is probably the coolest hat I've seen in the entire conference. I mean, I don't know. I had to do like that. Can we just give a shout out?
Go.
Yeah, you can find it downstairs. It's a 10 ETH. So, but no, in all seriousness, what you're doing at LayerZero is probably one of the most important projects in the space, because you're kind of taking community and bridging it between multiple different chains, and to have that insight and to build on that protocol to allow communities to not have to think about, oh, I have to build on ETH, I have to build on Polygon, I need to build on Solana, but really kind of bridging all those worlds is a technological breakthrough. And not only just as a portfolio company, you guys are crushing it, but just within the community, people really appreciate not having to overthink and being able to go cross-chain. So why did you guys think about that? And also, like, how are you thinking about building in the space and allowing everybody to work together?
Yeah, I mean, I think our positioning is a little bit different in that, like, these guys are building incredible communities, and like our goal is to like enable them, right? Like what we do, like, is the goal is to like make their lives easier, make it so that they don't need to think about this stuff. So I think it's really interesting when you talk about the lens of community building. Like Luca says, so for anybody who doesn't know, like Pudgy sent little penguins to all these chains over LayerZero, right? So like they were on Ethereum before, and they went to Polygon, Arbitrum, and BNB chain. And one of the things that Luca said that really stuck with me was like, overnight, basically, they became a top X project on like all of these chains, right? So I think he was modest and said top 10. I think it's probably like top 3 or something. But I thought it was like very interesting, right? Like as you're building community, like at the end of the day, it's just like pure social graph, right? Like everybody wants to have the widest audience possible. You don't want to be Facebook that like only ever launches at Harvard and doesn't go anywhere else, right? So like I think that is super, super interesting, because there are these massive audiences that live on Polygon, on Solana, on all of these other areas, and like being able to expand that social graph and just like widen the audience or like the group of people that you're touching or engaged with your IP or what you're doing is just like hugely, hugely important. And I think we'll see so much more of that.
Absolutely. And yeah, congrats again. And if anybody doesn't know, LayerZero is definitely the #1 protocol in order to build on top of, when you're thinking about that space. So now, the gift and the curse of community is that you have kind of what you mentioned, you're building in public, and everybody's when token, when's this, when's that, when's utility. I'm curious, maybe we could just go around the corner and have everybody just really explain, how do you think about utility? How do you think about adding value outside of just floor price? Like what on the innovation side in terms of really bringing things together? Let's double tap on utility and how you guys are thinking about that. Harri, we'll start with you.
Okay. I think the biggest challenge that probably all of us are facing is everyone wants utility, but everyone has a different idea of what utility actually means. So for some people, like Frank said, the utility is like you meet your new best friend on the internet, and community is really what it's all about. For other people, they just want access to cool shit and cool experiences.
Yep.
But then even within that, everyone's idea of what is cool and what experience they want is going to shift from person to person. And then you have people who are looking to get financial returns. And for most people, it's some kind of combination of the different things. So I think that if you want to stay relevant, but you also want to build something that's going to last for the long term, you have to listen to your community. You have to understand what they care about and what that kind of range of interests is. But you also need to balance all of those different things, because if you do all of one or all of the other, you're either going to lose relevance or you're going to burn out and you're not going to be around long term. So it's like it's a really difficult balancing act of everything, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, my analogy on this is if you guys remember those infomercial purses that have like 100 pockets in them, like, you know, that's utility. It's got so many pockets in it, but that's never going to be as valuable as like a Louis Vuitton bag with one fucking pocket in it, right? And I think that when people mix it up, and this is you're hitting on it perfectly. Every person has like a different definition of utility. So the funniest thing to see sometimes is you'll see someone tweet out, "Oh, like, what's your definition of utility?" And you go to the replies, and it's like 50 different responses. And so I think that it's a buzzword for the community sometimes to communicate, like, bro, what's next for this project? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, that's typically what that word means in context. But I don't think that word is. I think that word loses meaning, you know, every day. In the same way that rug loses meaning every day when you're calling someone that's like showing up every day, you know, a rugger versus the guy that just like hard rugged everybody that nobody talks about today. Like, these words just, you know, in a bear market, the way people are right now, these things just start to lose meaning. And so I think utility's on that path right now where it's just so context dependent. It means a million different things. How could it possibly, you know, how could anyone agree on a definition? I don't know.
Exactly. Luca, I mean, we've had a lot of conversations around, you know, some of the ideas that you guys are thinking about. I mean, definitely share how you're feeling about that.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. I've actually segmented the two utilities into one is emotional utility and the other is transactional. And so transactional is, you know, price go up, here's airdrop, whether it's a token or more NFTs. And I think that's really what drove the space forward in 2021, 2022. But I think if we want this space to succeed the way that we all want it to succeed, emotional utility is going to have to trump transactional utility. And that's where Frank alluded to, you know, friendships, community, experiences. I also believe on the emotional side that people want to rally behind a vision. And my observation in the space is a lot of people's vision isn't clear. And I think that's something that has boded really well for Frank, has been a huge adjustment for us at Pudgy Penguins. But you know exactly where we're going and why we're going in that direction. And if you look at the landscape, a lot of people can't really say the same. And so having a really clear vision to rally people behind something, I think is the first step into creating emotional utility, because why am I buying something? Why am I participating in that ecosystem? Why am I a part of it? And there's also mutually aligned interests. Another utility that I think is not to be underestimated, but we'll use Bryan as an example, who's, you know, the CEO of LayerZero. Like, if I own a Pudgy Penguin and I DM Bryan, the likelihoods of Bryan responding to me are exponentially higher if I didn't. Access is something that is not to be underestimated, and I found, this was an observation, I almost made a tweet this morning about it, but I found that if you have a Bored Ape PFP or a Moonbird or a Degods, or like, I will naturally respond to you faster.
Yeah,
like pretty.
yeah.
It's like,
It's like a code. It's like you're part of an ecosystem.
yeah, it's like, it's weird, right? And
Yeah.
so that is a utility. You know, like me being able to access someone like Bryan if I'm just holding a Pudgy Penguin, or myself, or, you know, other people within the community.
Yep.
That's utility. And I think these are the things we need to double down on and lean into, because price going up, there's such a speculative market. There's things that happen that you just can't control, that either swing you to the upside or swing you to the downside, that you have to build a bigger value proposition than just, you know, what is on the transactional end because markets are raging and things are positive. Like, this is an emotional business. Emotional utility is, I think, what is going to dominate the space over the next couple of years, and I'm looking forward to participating.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, I super strongly align. We had a really interesting conversation at the Andreessen dinner the other night, actually, about this. And just like, if you look at kind of the history of collectibles, right? So, you know, utility is very, like, underserviced. A lot of people talk about needing utility now, but, like, nobody is paying $500,000 for, like, a first edition, you know, base set Charizard because, like, they get into a conference or, like, something happens. They do it because, like, the brand continues to put out amazing IP, and there's, like, this scarce side of it, and, like, they have some emotional attachment to that. They want it, right? And so, like, there's a bunch of reasons why people might do that, and then those in turn form, like, these small sub communities. So, like, if you own some ultra rare baseball card, like, you're probably going to be able to talk to Nat Turner. Like, he will engage with you. Whereas, like, if you don't, like, it's very hard to get to Nat. Like, there are just like, when you talk about access, when you talk about communities, when you talk about those things, like, I do not think looking at the history of things that are similar to what we're going through right now, the utility drives, like, the primary value. There's almost no, I'm gonna, get into this shop or do this thing. Like it just like isn't what drive people. Whether you look at luxury brands today, whether you look at collectibles, and so I'm like reasonably bearish on the colloquial usage of like utility right now as most people see it, where I think like it's very short-term gratification for people because like they think they're getting a little bit more value, they're getting something extra. But I think what really rewards everybody long-term is just like building that brand / IP / universe, right? Like that's what draws people to it, and you have people who will engage with that and like never let it you just have this more and more like kind of permanent supply that's just not moving out ever because people feel such a strong attachment. And I think it's just like a very classic, kind of like a DAO problem almost of like very very short term alignment versus like long term alignment. Yeah.
Well, it's cool because like I have a gold chain CryptoPunk, and so it's like all my gold chain CryptoPunks. There's a special community within that, or like the spaceship apes. Like it's like a whole little. Everybody has their. It's very crazy, but this is kind of like building your own fraternity and sororities like within the ecosystem. So I think it's super cool, and only will continue to expand and have layers and layers inside of the space. So, Fanfaron, curious how you're thinking about this, especially this is what your 4th startup now. So what have you kind of learned in your journey as an entrepreneur, and also, just now doubling down on the Web3 space that has kind of given you the insights into building how you're thinking about things now?
Yeah, so my first 3 companies, so I failed my first one, second one is still running now, and the third one, I sold it like 2 years ago. And they were all in fashion or industry, like I created a cookie factory. Yep. And the big difference between creating a product in Web 2 or traditional companies and creating something in Web 3 is that in traditional companies, you build something for people. You build a product that people crave for, like Apple is doing and so on. And in Web 3, and it's something that I've been learning along my journey in Web 3, it's you build with them. You don't build something for them, you build with them. And they are a part of what you're trying to build. You take their feedback, they construct the things with you, you integrate them into the IPs, you integrate them into the challenges, and they feel a sense, and that comes back to what the panel here said about the ownership, the feeling of belonging to something that is bigger than yourself, and that ties in the utility of things, the sense of belonging and the sense of building together, and that's what's very different about Web3, and that's where I think the different communities are part of a bigger thing, which is a civilization, which is Web3. And I think we have a bright future in front of us because we have amazing communities like this, and we're all building for a better future and something that is that should be changing the world.
100%. I think that what you tapped on in terms of building a better future is something that everybody's thinking about. And you got the phrase, we're gonna make it. We're all gonna make it. So WAGB, in the good times and the bad times, but we're all gonna make it. And so how do you see just the evolution? I mean, every single day, Web3 changes. You wake up in the morning and somebody's floor crashed, or a new project just came, or you just, checks just drops a free air token, and next thing you know, it becomes, 2 ETH. Like, it goes crazy every single day, right? So curious how everyone, if you could do your crystal ball prediction or just rub Bryan's hat, how do you think that the future of the world is going to go?
In my opinion, like right now, a lot of people are trying to onboard 1 billion plus people, and that's great. But at the moment, we're still very early in crypto and Web3, and I think there is a big need for us to focus on the current community today and to narrow down what people want today, so that it's a niche that we can make super powerful, so that if we succeed in 5 to 10 years, we can, as a civilization in Web3, we can embark into every single vertical of Web2 today. That can be gaming, that can be social networking, that can be branding, that can be fashion. Like everything can be digitally owned, and everything can rally around this sense of community and belonging. So yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think from our lens, it's so My stance on this in general is, I was exposed to Bitcoin in 2010. I was minting CryptoKitties, like Gen Zero CryptoKitties when they started. Like, I did not see the NFT wave coming. Like, I was farming yams at like 300 million% APY, but like did not see DeFi summer coming, right? Like, I have no like firm conviction on my ability to like figure out what's next. Like, my job is to build the thing, like build the core primitive that enables everybody else to like build those things. Like Vitalik, for sure, when he was building Ethereum, was not like, you know what, like I think dog money and like meme coins are gonna, like that's the use case I'm focused on. It's just like not in your mind, right? And so like, I don't think it's up to me, or like I shouldn't spend my time trying to figure out what's next. I should be relatively agnostic, like build the base primitive that just enables everybody to like be creative and express that part. And like, I will be super surprised about what that ends up being, but like have no crystal ball of what it may be.
That's because you have the hat.
I have the hat next to me, and I still have absolutely no idea what the future's bringing. I think that if you kind of strip NFTs back to their most basic form, though, they are really valuable and applicable in anything where it is important to have a completely unambiguous record of ownership, but also where provenance and kind of authenticity matters. And this could be anything from like physical objects to high-end collectibles, like IRL collectibles like watches or wine or anything like that. And so there are so many applications, and it feels, I think, probably to most people here, like obvious that at some point this is going to take over and it's just going to be a part of day-to-day life. What I think none of us has a good idea on is how long that's actually going to take, because there are a load of challenges that we have in the space at the moment. And I think people who are really embedded, we have almost like a Stockholm syndrome where we ignore the things which are troublesome with the industry. So for example, UX and onboarding is horrific. It's really challenging. If you try and explain to like your mum who's not into crypto how to get into something.
Yeah, it's the big thing.
It sounds bonkers, but actually the experience really is, it's not great.
Yeah.
And so I think for the people who are here today, if we want to kind of accelerate that future, we have to try and fix as many of those problems as possible. And so we need to fix the issues around security, around usability, kind of get rid of some of the more negative, off-putting aspects for the wider world. And then, hopefully we can accelerate and start seeing the things that we all know are possible, but which to other people still seem a bit far-fetched, perhaps.
Are you trying to say, write down these 24 random words and protect them with your life as not
Never
like,
lose them one time.
A number of people that have told me, they're like, oh no, I haven't saved it digitally. I wrote it down and took a photo.
And it's like, well, then, well, exactly. But that's the thing. Well, I always say everyone thinks about Web 3, but majority of the world is still in Web 2. Some people are still in Web 1.5, and so it's almost like you have to build Web 3 to actually then go backwards to go into Web 2.5. And so, because, if we're going to get the next wave, you have to make it 10 times easier, 10 times more scalable, and remove a lot of the friction. It's almost like back in the day when people were saying, "Oh, check out my MP3," and now like who uses, product in terms and technical terms for the everyday user. So it's
we probably need to rebrand at some point. I think we've picked up a lot of kind of negative connotations along the way.
Well, I don't know, because NFT Paris, they're gonna have to change their name. Like,
Digital collectible Paris. Yeah.
Work for 77-bit. Like, they're re-rocking a rebrand.
Crazy, so crazy.
But I think that Web3, honestly, man, was a little bit of a premature name. Like, I think it's such a nascent and small field today in the grand scheme of things. And I think people sometimes like, oh yeah, like Web3 is gonna replace like Walmart, or like, I'm not kidding. This was a moment.
It's taking down Amazon.
There was some guy. I'm sorry if you're this person, but there was some guy that tweeted and he got like 2,000 likes for tweeting OpenSea will disrupt Walmart. And I was like, all right, like, come on, dude. Like, this is nuts. And so I think that Web3 just got a premature name a little bit with like how significant it is. And people shit on Web2 way too much. Like, to this day, YouTube democratized creators like broadly. Facebook allowed for people to start businesses. This, Luca. Like these Web2 platforms got where they are today because of a deep, like insanely high value democratization of value creation that they did. And so like the idea that Web2 is the villain today, or the idea that the value prop of Web3 that's gonna scale is, oh, we hate these Web2 giants. It's like, no, bro, people were signing up for the terms and conditions for a decade. You think they're gonna stop today? So it has to be 10x better experience and something that's new. And this is my thing, is like Web3 just enables new things. Trading cartoon JPEGs, digital collectibles, like this is like new, it's fresh. And that's why I think NFTs have gotten so much more traction broadly than anything else in crypto to this day. Because they are the first digital native, crypto native asset. Because it's the only thing in crypto that's not denominated in USD purely. It's denominated in the base token. Like that, every DeFi token at the end of the day trades at that USD pair. Crypto NFTs is so irrational. It's so different. It's just new. It's fresh. So I'm excited.
Yeah, but it's also really cool because it creates this idea of ownership and the idea of like, if I own an ape, like I can actually use that product and turn it into make my own water brand or make my own coffee shop or and you have a community of 10,000 people, 5,000 people, 20,000 people automatically that have that connection point where if you go and start a clothing brand and you have to start literally from scratch and try to actually go out and build that. But having an ownership, the ability to actually own and have it be on chain is something that's super important. So that's but making sure people can understand that in a very simple way is going to be important. So Luca, I know you were going to say something as well too.
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of take a step back and look at this from a really macro lens, this space is really interesting in the sense that I think the total addressable market for NFTs and Web3 is obviously in the trillions. When you look at just NFTs in general, they are an authenticity mechanism. They are, a better collectible. They are better art pieces. They are access. And if you kind of take those categories and look at the total addressable market, it's in the trillions. I think for us, and specifically what we're doing, and if you look at the current landscape today, I think a lot of that is contingent on innovation. But today, you look at what we've created, it's a better collectible, period. And this is somebody who spent, tons of time collecting art and sports cards. And those have problems because the friction of buying and selling is impossible. If I want to sell my Michael Jordan Fleer rookie card, I would have an anxiety for 48 hours when I put that, in the post office, ship it out, the insurance, the friction.
Yep.
I don't know how many there are, even after spending a ton of money on them, how many Michael Jordan Fleers are there? I don't know, right? And so at its core, like what we've accomplished up until this point is I think we've created a better collectible. And the collectible market's a $426 billion industry. And I think as more collectors are familiar with this new, better form of collecting, I think that is undeniably inevitable. We are there. Now, it's going to require a lot of people like Frank, like the LayerZero team, like the Proof team, like the Ragnarok team, the 77-bit team. Like, we are going to have to innovate on the gaming and on the infrastructure. And these are the things like, how big can we get it? But today, I believe we've completely destroyed the $426 billion collectible market. I think it's about creating awareness there and like proving that you can win there. But this is a better collectible, and this is from somebody who has talked to a lot of people who collect, who's an avid collector myself. And I think it's up for us, and obviously as well, Chris and A16, to keep pushing the boundary and see how much total addressable market can we put under this new technology, because I do believe it's the future.
Clip that, put that on Good
Let's
Morning
go,
America.
baby.
Oh, that was a banger, dude. Let's go.
Let's go. No, that's real shit.
Absolutely.
This is when you just drop the mic and just walk off. No, I'm just joking. So look, we only have a few minutes left. I think that, for what it's worth, you guys are all, pioneers in building in the space, and especially for the audience here that spent the time. Maybe if you can just drop one little form of alpha. We all love a little alpha. So like, how are you guys thinking about the future of each one of your projects? And if you want to drop, this is the time to kind of, let everybody know what's popping next.
My alpha is that we have 50 hoodies left over that we're going to be doing a pop-up shop for at a pizzeria. I don't know which one yet, and that's today. And they're sick. They got like Paris on the back, so yeah. Just money moves, Business trip.
Exactly. You get your hoodie downstairs real quick.
Oh man, I can't beat that. Well, we're gonna be selling some. We got some igloo Degods t-shirts I gotta sell too. So let me know about that pizza spot. My alpha is ROG soon. That's my alpha.
Oh shit.
Okay.
I mock Kevin Rose a lot for being like the leakiest man alive when it comes to alpha. So I cannot now go back having done exactly the same. But what I will say is a lot of the things that we're focusing on at the moment, and I think won't be a surprise to people who are really watching Proof, we are really increasing our focus on art and the art market and supporting artists. And that's going to become relevant to a lot more of our holders.
Yeah, I'm typically pretty much a Steve as well, so I'll try to rein it in. No, I think alpha on our side is really just like the next 6 months on the LayerZero side will be, if not like the sort of like craziest rollout 6 months announcements, everything that there has been, like definitely since
guys are
launch,
hustling.
maybe ever. Like there's a lot. It's going to be a really crazy start to the year.
For us, I mean, if you want to get trained into the game, it's downstairs, and then there's a 77 ETH, so it's like a 100K cash prize that we're gonna do when we drop the game in March. So we drop the alpha in March. You can get trained here, and there's a cash prize for people who try it out, who can complete the leaderboard.
Love it. I mean, in all reality, everybody here is experiencing alpha because we are at the very earliest stages of all things Web3, all things crypto, and so we're all going to make it together. So it's a special time, and I just want to give a special shout out to everybody that came out today. I want to give a shout out to Paris for welcoming us in this beautiful city. It's one of my favorite places in the world. I mean, look at this view. It's incredible. And, there's a lot of great things that we have in store. And I just want to give a special shout out to everybody that, each one of you guys for sharing time and spending time with us. And, thank you so much.
And Chris, we want to give a special shout out to you. We're going to,
Yes, sir.
Frank and I are going to work on this today, but the Chris Lyons Nightly Show, Twitter Spaces, is coming near you. You did
Let's
such a
do
great
it.
job. So
Let's
it'd be
go. I love it.
irresponsible if we couldn't have that from you.
Hey, man, look, it's my pleasure. I love working in this space. I love seeing everything that each one of you all are doing. I think that it's extremely important. Innovation is happening right in front of us every day, and it takes a community in order to bring all this together. And so I just want to spend a special thank you to everybody that came out today, and we'll be around in the corner and appreciate everyone's time.